Hello and welcome back to Last Minute Lit with me. We are doing book 3 of Paradise Lost. So in the first 55 lines of the book, the narrator is talking about light, basically as if light was a person, or aka a personification. And the narrator is always on this journey with us. He talks about seeing hell and seeing chaos, and now he's finally seeing light. And he asks this light to shine in himself so he can continue to narrate the book and for all of us mortals to basically understand his descriptions. This is an important part of Paradise Lost. Every academic, every professor likes to talk about this. It's very personal to Milton because Milton was actually blind when writing Paradise Lost. Light for him was much more symbolic and meaningful. And in book 1 and 2, light does not exist in hell. And in book 3, this is the first time that the narrator and the reader get to see light. And so the impact of the narrator seeing the light for the first time is perhaps a weird way of Milton wishing that he himself could see light again, and that perhaps in his darkness he's seen as being casted into hell. So this passage is extremely personal to him. But has nothing to do with the plot. So if we actually go back to the plot, book 3 is probably the most boring, mainly because Milton makes this character extremely narcissistic, extremely annoying, and so we can see that God is sitting on a throne with his son on his right side, and we are told that God can see everything. I like to think of God having like a crystal ball, and he just watches the whole world like he's a psychic, and they say that he can see the past, the present, and the future. In this vision or this crystal ball, he sees that Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden, and he watches Satan flying towards the earth, and he turns to his son and tells him, "I've just had a vision, and I know that Satan is out for revenge, and he will be successful." Also, God likes to clear up that all possible accusations will clear himself of any kind of guilt. So he's basically saying that man is free to think for himself, and man can only blame himself. And then God's son, aka I guess Jesus, praises him and tells him how good of a person God is, and basically just kisses his ass the entire time and agrees to everything he says. And God agrees with his son, in agreement with him. And God says, "Hey, I'm a nice guy, but consequences are consequences. Man has offended me, and as punishment, man and all his future children must die. Unless someone can take all of man's punishments on his behalf." Anybody? And all of heaven, crickets. Nobody wants to take this role. The Son of God decides to take the role, and God gladly accepts, and he does a long speech on why his son is better than everyone else in heaven, and appoints him of high rank due to his noble actions. And the angels obey God, and they start partying by singing and playing their harps. And there's a few pages of just celebrating the Father and Son of heaven. And thank God that's over. Now we shift to Satan's perspective. He has just landed on the border of Earth and chaos, and Google Maps didn't exist yet, so he didn't know where to go from here. But like all lost people do, they look up to the sky, and he saw a light. And as he flew closer and closer to the light, it was actually a golden staircase that leads all the way up to heaven. And Satan decides to walk up the staircase, and he sees another angel named Uriel, and decides to shapeshift into a cherub, or a smaller angel, and talks to Uriel about this new world and tries to get more information out of him and basically where he has to go. And Uriel, of course, gives him all the details. He talks to him exactly where he can find Adam, and he gives unnecessary details like exactly what is daytime and what is nighttime. And at the end of the book, Satan is flying towards Earth at the exact location of where Adam is. This is an extremely brief chapter. Book 3 is probably one of the smallest books of Paradise Lost, but an important note to mention is that Milton writes God and Satan very differently. God is kind of passive. He kind of just lets things happen, and he's overall a very boring and bland character. While Satan is a sort of anti-hero, he has a goal, he has any means of achieving it, and he has very relatable feelings that we humans experience. The question is, why didn't Milton make God more descriptive and more interesting like he did with Satan? And in this book, especially, it's the first time as readers that we meet God, and he's kind of underwhelming. So the only logical reason I can get out of this is that Milton had a problem with the Church of England. He was a Puritan, and like all Protestants, he wanted religion to be about the fundamentals, about God and morality. And in my opinion, Milton wanted God to just be simple. He didn't want the fluff, the zhuzh, the extravagance that the Catholic Church had brought in at the time. And I think that Milton making God very boring and not descriptive at all is kind of a way of rebelling against the Catholic Church and really sticking to his Protestant principles. Although I do like Satan more as a character, he is a definitely more relatable character. He has internal struggles, he has moral questions, and is definitely a more likable and relatable character than God is. But maybe that's the point. Maybe God is not meant to be relatable or likable. And that is all for book 3. It is a very short book. Leave a like, leave a comment. I always read, and subscribe. It kind of helps me, but you don't have to. No pressure. Alright, bye!